Hello everybody and welcome to Quality Sewing and Vacuum Sew Fun Virtual today. It's September and we're so glad that you've joined us during this beautiful time of year. We have some amazing projects that these wonderful ladies have made and I'm so excited for you to hear all about them. If you're new to Quality Sewing and Vacuum, we have live shows. Aren't they amazing? They're so fun. They're fun of fun prizes, education, and prizes, but there's also show and tell, which builds community and fun. So go online to qualitysewing.com and you can sign up for one of our shows today. So anyways, all the products that we're going to be talking about today are going to be online. We will put a link down below. Go ahead and check it out. And they are 20% off. So don't forget to put in 20 SEPT for 20 September, so for your 20% off on there. And those will be up online until October 9th. So don't forget about that. We're going to be doing some prizes later on, so don't forget to leave a little comment down below. Tell us where you're from. If you have any questions, that'll pop right up on the screen and these ladies will answer it for you. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Tony, Sandy, and Charlotte. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Look at everybody we have already. Portland and Washington, and welcome. Now I know the first thing you saw, and I'm just going to get out of the way because look at this gorgeous quilt. Isn't that pretty? It's Tula Pink and Free Spirit fabric, and it was made by the designer. She sent it to us. It's the cover quilt on her pattern, which you see right there.
That's good.
And Charlotte made the twin size. It comes in 5 sizes. Charlotte made the twin size, which is
it's 48.
I mean,
no,
baby
it's the
size.
baby size. It's the
Baby size.
And yeah, so. And if you look at the quilt, it kind of looks like it may be a little difficult. It isn't. It is just made with half square triangles all the way through it, and then just a square, a 4.5 inch square. So easy. So it looks a lot more complicated, and this just happens to be a Maywood fabric that we probably carried it in the store a long time ago, but it was something that is a real pretty color here. And
okay, then
Sandy,
this is the throw size. Then I made the twin size. And we brought in these gorgeous fat quarter packs. This one from Maywood Studio is called Russell. I don't know if you can see it. It's beautiful.
these patterns are made for a fat quarter pack.
Yes, they are. This one came from Benartex. It's called Among the Wildflowers. We will show you this later, opened out. And this one is a Christmas one called...
the Christmas wreath, I think.
Christmas wreath, okay.
Christmas
and
wreath.
It's got 3 different colorways of the same designs, and we'll show you that one later too.
Beautiful.
Also, I want to show you, sometimes these things are kind of hard to read. That's why we brought in this really cool Go lamp. 1, 2, or if you really can't see it, you can open the top, and there's a magnifying glass. And Charlotte told me your husband likes to pull out slivers.
Oh, he'll pull out slivers, and then because he's had it for a long time, and then he just puts them all around the base of the thing, just so he has these little soldiers there to prove what he. Anyway, you can really see. But also in this glass here, there's a smaller magnifier.
Sliver getter outer.
Yeah, it's really small. And this glass actually turns, and I'm not going to turn it because I get my fingerprints on it, but then you can put it right up where you need to. But if you're sitting in your chair doing things, you could set this on the edge of your chair, and you can put it flat against whatever, it goes every which way to make it convenient so that you can see, or turn it around and put it on your sewing machine so that you could get in there really close to do close-up work.
To see the bed of your machine.
And you got...
It is a great light. Yeah. I use it for cross-stitching.
Yeah.
Because I like to be able to see what I'm doing at night, and I can just open this up and beam it over and see what I'm doing. You'll probably see this lamp a few times, especially the magnifier, because Tony loves it.
Well, as we get older, we need those magnifiers.
Yes, we do. Then continuing on with fat quarters, because our theme this month is going to retreats or going to sew with friends or wherever you take all your stuff. So you're taking your pattern and your fat quarters. And this could be cut with a go too if you have that. Then I'm just going to walk all the way away. We have the Fun with Fat Quarter book.
All these things are made from the book. And in this book is really, really, unique because we just dropped something.
Okay.
The fun thing about this book is that the front part of the book has all these techniques in it. So if you're new to sewing, or if you don't have some information that you need sometime to look up how to do buttonholes, cutting buttonhole loops, your fancy stitches, adding trims, all of this is in the beginning of the book. So this is kind of a
refresher if you haven't sewn
an
for a while.
encyclopedia. And
or if you're teaching someone to sew.
I sent it to my granddaughter, and so that my great-granddaughter, they could all get in this and really look at all the things that they can learn before they start sewing. I mean, it gives really basic things. And then in the back of the book, from page 41 on, are the projects. And there's 15 projects in this book. Sandy, you want to?
So we'll go through some of them with you here. I made this little dress. It's for my granddaughter. It's just 2 fat quarters for the front and back, and 1 for the pocket and straps. They have buttonholes. You really wouldn't need to button it. It could be a pull over her head. Tony made this cute little pouch. It opens up, has a zipper. She tells you about how to put in zippers. Has a really cute lining.
And box your corners.
And how to box out these corners to make a nice square pouch. Then I made the placemats. They're round. I used freezer paper and folded it into quarters. I took the protractor and drew a half circle. It wasn't big enough. I had to take a ruler and make it bigger. But then when I cut it out, I had my circle. So I could press it with a warm iron, cut my circle out, cut my backing out, and, you know, voila, you sew it together. So, Tony, I'm not showing the back. Yes, I am. I sewed it upside down, okay? Tony's been telling everybody how I sewed it upside down. So I did, but who's going to see it? Tony made this really cute little apron down here. It's 2 fat quarters and then some scraps and bias for the waist. And that reminds me of my grandmother all the time. And she also made this really cute tote, which looks nothing like the tote in the book. It's a disappearing 9 patch. But she used Spider-Man.
And fat quarters.
And fat quarters. Everything we made was with fat quarters, because it's from the Fat Quarter book. And you made this pillow.
And I made this pillow, and I love, you know, the more you pay for your sewing machine, the more stitches you get in it. And so I always teach that you need to go and make yourself a stitch Bible, and that is making all of your stitches that you have in your sewing machine, and you can make all these stitches. I made these crooked on purpose. You can do them straight, but I've made a stitch Bible so I can go in and I can look at exactly what stitch I want to use. And you know, and people have put me to shame because they've come in and they have done, one of the ladies just bought the Bernina 900. She had every stitch done in her stitch Bible. It was beautiful. But also, I also always put an invisible zipper in here in the seam, so it's invisible. And I just stuff this, but how I do my decorative stitches is really important. Is I am going to press my fabric with Best Press, and then I'm going to put Stitch and Wash Fusible by Floriani. I want it fused to that. Now what happens, that's a 2-part stabilizer. The part that stays in is behind the stitches, and what washes away is where the fabric is. And you have to use a stabilizer when you do decorative stitches. If you do not, you don't get good stitches. They won't come out right.
And it puckers along.
And it puckers, that's right. So anyway, that, you know, go and play with all your fancy stitches because they're just beautiful.
Yeah. Then you're still going to retreat now, remember? So you're going to need a bag. And we got a bag for you. Quilter's Big Tote.
Turn around. Yeah, well, put it right. Okay, there you go. By Minky Kim. And, you know, if you do want, there is a YouTube information tutorial on it if you want information on how to make it. There is that. Tony?
There's one that has all these little 4-inch squares. Once again, you could use your AccuQuilt to trim those all up. I made this big one.
Here's your square.
I did not exactly follow the pattern. I did a drop-in lining because I wanted a pocket. Charlotte made the other big one.
And this has Bozel two-sided fusible in it. So both sides are fused together. Excuse me. All the seams are covered with a 2.5-inch strip. And what I did is I just laid my fabric out, pressed it on both sides, got it all stuck in, and then I just stippled all over it and to keep them all together. And that's what makes the bag really stand up. And it has a nice bottom in it that you can put lots of things in, like your iron, everything. Everything. And we covered our straps, but we do have strapping that you can purchase if you're making a blue or a pink one. Sandy and I both had red, so we just covered ours with our fabric.
Yep, I also use this fancy dancy variegated thread around my straps. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. And we'll be talking more about the thread later too, but I love using variegated threads. It's fun. And my straps have the webbing in. Now, I'm off to retreat. What do I need? I need a cutting mat and I need a ruler, right? So, this is the Quilter Select cutting mat. It is heavy duty. Look at that. You can cut on both sides. It is self-healing. It will not fall apart on you like one that I had did, but use a sharp rotary cutter, you know, because your threads and stuff, a dull rotary cutter will push your thread into your mat, will push your binding into your mat. So then you need the mat scrubber.
Right.
This little mat scrubber has all these different ways to scrub. I love it that we can stick our hand into it and do circles. And you would be amazed at all the threads that you get out of there.
Well, and your batting gets in there.
Your batting
gets in there, and that's what really makes the mess. And so it's just real easy to take it off. But you always should use the sharpest,
yes,
the
for heaven's
sharpest
sake.
blade, because you do not damage your mat that way. The sharper the blade, if you're pressing too hard when you're using a rotary cutter, it's time to change the blade.
Right. And we brought in this 4.5 by 18-inch ruler. It has something on the back, so it does not slide. You do not need to use tape or sandpaper or plastic dots or anything. Look at that. It does not move. 4.5 by 18. This is the only 4.5 by 18 ruler out there.
Well, the cool part about this is it's crystal clear.
Yes.
Because it's by Quilter Select, and all of her rulers were kind of a yellow. And so as we get older, it's a little harder to see those numbers, but this is so crystal clear, it gives you perfect. And 4.5 by 18 is such a really usable ruler.
And that's why I put the pocket in my tote, so I could put the ruler in. Because these blocks I had to trim to 4.5.
That's right.
The quilts I had to trim to 4.5. Right. And you have the diagonal line here. You have everything you need to be trimming up those things. So you really only need one ruler at retreat.
And one
mat. And the mat fits in my bag. So we're off to retreat, Charlotte. Okay, what's the next thing we need in our bag?
Well, you got it right there.
How about the Gadget Girls toolkit? I get backwards every time. I'm just going to take these down. You do not have to quilt it. I did not. Because I want to play with my circle attachment on my machine, and I wanted to make circles with variegated thread. I just like playing, okay?
And these are just simple.
The inside is pockets and vinyl. Down here there's 2 pockets. Lots of people said plain and peanut, needles and, bobbins. Here is, you can put your scissors, your rotary cutter, all sorts of things. There's a pen pocket here, or your stiletto, or your marker. There's a pocket here for sticking in your notebook. But when you put these zippers on, we use something special. We use Stitch Perfection tape.
On both sides of our zippers.
Yep, because you're sewing the vinyl to this strip, and you're attaching it at the bottom seam. Now remember, with vinyl, you want to increase your stitch length. Then you put the tape on your zipper, and you stick it to that. The tape is just pressure sensitive. You score it with a pin, peel off the paper, press it down, and then you don't need any pins or anything to go to your sewing machine. And the cool thing is she has bigger zippers, so this is not in your way. The pull is not in your way as you're sewing. So you can sew nice and straight. And then you do the same thing for the other side of the zipper and all the rest of the zippers.
And it's such a nice, clean finish for your zippers. It really is. It's just a real nice looking zipper on that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I really like.
and I happen to just have in my resource center, I just happen to have this ruler pin. I mean, it was a button. And what I did is I cut off the shank and then I just glued it on there, and so it matches my measuring tape right there.
Yep, and the pattern gives you a little bonus.
Yeah. A little bag.
A little bag.
A little bag to keep your, you can keep your M&Ms in here. You can keep anything you want, but this is a, good way to use up some fabric, just some little bits of fabric that I had left over from my apron, and it's just going to stick anything in there. There you go.
Yeah, and we're just putting all of our stuff in there. Okay, so now you've got your bag, you've got your tools. What else do you need at retreat or when you're going sewing?
A pin cushion.
Yes, ma'am, you need a pin cushion. And we have this cute one. I'll put that up
Okay,
too.
put that.
You talk about the pin cushion.
This pin cushion is small. Now I made mine a little different than Tony and Sandy did. And what I did differently, we have this idea that we can do things, make our own design. I chose not to put the piece of fabric that goes around here. I just made mine little. You can see how much bigger this is by putting this around. Now this has flying geese in it, and they're very little, but what it's made for is to hold this cute little 1.5 by 2.5 inch ruler, and you can make these cute little flying geese with it. Now, they thought I glued it because I love glue.
I know.
I didn't really glue it. I just sewed this by machine. And what Sandy did, which is really smart, and Tony, they sewed the little strap right into their seam. Well, I didn't think of that soon enough. I was more worried. I wanted this cute little ruler to really fit in here really tight because I didn't want to lose it. And so I put it in there pretty tight. Now I filled mine with walnut shells.
So did we.
And she put hers with walnut shells too. But so
walnut shells are easy to find. Go to the pet store.
And there you go. So you can make it, you can make it bigger if you wanted to, or smaller. And
The other thing I liked about this ruler is how the crystal clear is at the 1/4 inch and the half inch
all the way around.
So you can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but you can see on the fabric the 1/2 inch or the 1/4 inch.
And that's really handy.
Yes,
you know
it
how
is.
many things do you have to cut, like you do, we made our bags in the hoop. And it says cut them out before we turn them right side out to a 1/4 inch. So you have this perfect 1/4 inch right there that you could just line it up and cut it.
Yep, and the other perfect thing, that little ruler is great for when you're making pouches and you're cutting out that little bottom corner.
Oh yeah, the little
1.5 inch
1.5
corners from the corners of a pouch.
It's got a lot of usage.
Yes,
Anyway,
it does. It's a
and-
great little set there.
Okay.
So now you've got your bag, you've got your pin cushions, you've got your
want to take
gadgets to take. I'm going to go over here and Tony's going to show you the aprons.
Here's the. Do you want to bring it over further? Here, let's do it a little bit. Yeah, there you go. There we go.
We have cords.
Careful you don't trip on that.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You start with.
Okay, so they wanted me to start with mine because it's shorter. Surprise, surprise. So the cool thing about this pattern, I think it's a 60s retro, right? 60s retro. Anyway, that you only have like 4 pieces in here, and so you have a piece to cut the top here, and then this bottom part. And then you can add how many inches you want in here. Now, because I'm short, obviously, I only added 10 inches in between mine. Tony will add what she did to hers. So you can make this to fit you. I chose to make the straps I made all of my bias tape on my Simplicity bias tape maker. I love to make bias tape. And then for my straps, I just used some of the fabric that I had left over. But this is totally reversible. So when this gets dirty, you just turn it over and you have another apron. So if you're making dinner for company, you have one side that you wiped your hands all over it, and then you turn it over when the company comes and you look very clean and neat. So there you go. And I wear an apron all the time. I was a hairdresser by profession, and I had wet hands all the time, and I wipe my hands on my apron. And if I don't wear an apron today, I wear my food on my, my dinner on my clothes. So I wear an apron all the time.
Sandy's apron, she made according to the pattern. It is totally reversible, so it's what you'd call a 2-meal deal. The pattern calls for batting.
Oh, none of us did it.
Sandy and I, all of us would be puddles if we had to put batting.
So
I don't need the heat. So she used, what was it, a fusible,
On one fabric.
on one side, lightweight fusible
Interfacing, yeah.
and then did hers with the pocket. And what she used on hers was, you can see the variegated thread,
With a decorative stitch.
to stitch it down. Now, I tend to dance to my own drummer. Splash fabric. We all hear about splash fabric. It's absolutely great. Nothing sticks, and I am a thread magnet. I don't care what I'm wearing. I didn't need to line it. Splash fabric doesn't need to be lined. And if I had 2 layers of splash fabric, I would be a puddle on the floor too.
Yeah.
So since it's 1 layer, I didn't need to double it. I cut it off. I just didn't add the pocket, because the last thing I want to do is be sitting on a pocket. I purchased some double fold binding, and I too used a decorative stitch. We have a lot of wonderful stitches on our machines.
But how much did you
And how
add?
much do we use them?
How much did you add to yours?
I just added the 10 inches or 12 inches that what the pattern said. I just did not add the pocket on the back, so I'm not sitting on anything. And it's very helpful. Sandy and I have got where we always wear aprons when we sew or we go to retreat.
Okay.
Plus the pockets are handy for your M&Ms in case you need a chocolate fix. We also brought in the little iron caddy. Now this is a little different than the one that has been out for years and years and years, because the older one is basically for the real small travel iron.
Mini iron.
Mini iron, which I use a lot when I'm doing embroidery. This pattern will hold the Alicio. This is a Tula pink. We have a Cafe. They do have Alicio regular iron that doesn't have the design. But this fits in here. This is pretty good size. And when you open it up, you now have an ironing pad to put by your sewing station.
Put your iron in there, show 'em.
What I would suggest, though, I would not lay this down just on my good furniture or on a good table or on a plastic table.
Right.
You need to have something underneath, because the moisture, the steam, the heat can travel through. So either a wool mat, which is great, or I have a thin cutting board that I put underneath mine to protect.
I put an extra layer of batting in mine, so it's a little bit thicker,
A little bit heavier.
a little bit heavier, so that it won't. You don't want to put this on top of your cutting mat, because it will warp it. But I just added another layer, so mine's a little bit thicker. But it's a great way to just put that little iron in. And when you go to class, you never have enough room you never have enough ironing boards. You never have enough anything to put your stuff. You have your own ironing board right there. You don't have to wait. You take your iron, and you have your own iron. So it's a great thing to take to Expo when you do your classes at Expo.
The best thing about this, though, is that it gives you a piece of the heat-resistant fabric in with the pattern. So if you like what you're doing, you can always order more. I used that on the one I made. Sandy did too. Did you use Insulbrite in yours? Sandy put Insulbrite in hers, but it's absolutely wonderful. And it fits that little iron, which we're going to be talking about. And
Tell us a little more about the iron now.
Oh, go ahead.
I wasn't real crazy. I'm not normally a Tula Pink person, and I will tell you that. And Sandy and Charlotte, they're going to bring this iron in. And I said, no, 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 no. And they're going, yes, 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 yes. Well, they brought it in, and I'm the first one that got to use it. I fell in love with it, and I bought myself one.
Not just one.
Two.
I bought two. When you're doing a lot of piecing, especially like at retreat, to have a big heavy iron that you're back and forth, you're going to get tired. It's hard on your wrist. This little puppy comes with a little silicone pad to protect it. It acts as a heat pad for you, but it's the perfect size. Also, when I'm piecing, this has a point. So I can open up the seam. It has a light, but this point helps me to open the seam up. Also, when I'm working with smaller pieces, if I have a great big iron and I press and I go all the way across, we've all had where you've got about this much extra iron that's going over your piece that you don't need to, and it ends up folding your seam over and crunching it up. This is perfect size. I don't have that happen with this. So it's a good travel size. It will, you can put water for steam. It's only going to steam if I'm pushing on the buttons. If I push on this button, steam comes out here. If I push on the other side, steam comes out here. If I want steam all over, I push both buttons and I've got it. When I release those buttons, I don't have steam. I'm not emptying my reservoir, and I still have heat. And this gets hot. It really gets hot.
1,000 degrees. 1,000 degrees.
1,000 degrees. It gets hot. So it's going to press whatever.
And
I need.
lefties.
And it's 2
Well,
pounds.
she's going to tell you about Lefty.
Lefties, this is so cool. You pop out these two little silicone buttons down here with a pin. There's 2 Phillips screws in there. You screw the screws out. You can take this whole turquoise part, lift it up, move it over, and all of a sudden your cord comes out this side.
And we know there's not a lot of left-handed
So it's not
irons
here in
out
your
there.
way. Isn't that great? Love
This
it.
would make a great gift for someone.
Yeah. Also, when it's down like this, it'll go off in 10 minutes. When it's flat, it will go off in 10 minutes. When it's sitting up like this, it'll go off in 30. So you need to know that.
Yeah, so if you set it here, it's nice, because by the time you get back with your piecing, you don't have to wait for it to heat up.
again.
But it does heat up fairly
Very fast,
quickly.
fast.
This is one of the nicest little irons.
And did
Very,
you
very
mention the
handy.
light?
And yeah, we
I
mentioned
did.
the
I
light,
talked
but it
about the
also
light.
has this, if you see, Chris, can we do, it has this space in here. So if you're trying to get into cuffs here to turn this stuff down, you could get right in there and iron what you need to on the inside of that cuff or on the inside of the collar. It's really, really cool. And you know, just like Tony said, I like to open my 1/4-inch seams. It's really, really hard to get them to where they open up and that they're nice. And having this nice little point here, and then I'll use maybe the Gypsy Quilters sticky sticks to help, and I just want that seam to be open. The reason that I want that 1/4-inch seam to be open, I don't end up with bumps and lumps in my quilt, and it's easier to quilt. Okay,
So what's next?
What is next? Do you want
Here
me
you
to
go.
do mine first, or do you want to do? We're right.
You're going to do this.
Oh, that's what I'm going to do. Okay,
You're gonna
so
do
I'm going to start up here with this. This is our binding. Where's our? Okay. That's here. This is our quick, easy miter binding tool. Now, how many of you just have a really hard time of putting binding around, and especially small items? I love to make hot pads, and I really like my binding to be sewn at the end and the beginning. And you can't hardly do it when you're doing an 8-inch block or an 8-inch thing. But if you're going to bring the fabric from the back of the quilt or the back of the pad to the front, this is the tool that you want to make your binding. And I'm going to do the 45 here. And oops, where's my pad? Oh, there it is. Okay. So one of the things now, I just have a 4.5-inch block. These are the blocks that this is exactly the block that Sandy used in her tote bag. And so I made a little square one. Now, if you're going to bring your backing to the front, first of all, I want to make sure that my quilt top, whatever I have here, that everything is squared off. It has to be even. Now, this happens to be Pellon's 987 fusible Pellon here. You can do heavier, you could do lighter, whatever you wish to do. You can put Insulbrite in it. But I'm going to make a 3/4 inch binding. And so what I have to do is I need 1.5 inches from the corner from the edge of my quilt out here, because I need to fold this right up to this quilt, the edge of my quilt. I don't think the iron's still hot enough. Okay, but you are going to press this. Do not use steam at this time. What happens if you use steam is that it will stretch that, and you don't want any of it stretched. You're going to go all the way around your quilt, and you're going to mark this down, so we'll get it here. So all the way around. I'm only going to do this on 2 sides, which is right here. Now you can see that I have a crease here and I have a crease here. I want to take my tool, and they have these wonderful lines on them, and I'm going to put these lines right where my block is, right here. And I don't know if this is going to do it good enough. I think I need something harder.
Use the bindings. Oh, there you go.
I think I can do this. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and what I want to do is I'm going to make a line. I'm going to make it longer than what I need. Now, I'm using a pen. Please do not use a pen. You're going to use something that is going to be erasable. Well, I thought I was going to do this. Huh. Okay, we'll try that again. Okay, so I want this to go right across here, really nice, and I want to go, so I have this. Now, this is my crease line. I want to make a crease in here and a line here in this crease. And then what I want to do, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine in a minute, just like when we're making darts. I want to put the pin in here, and I want to come over and I want to put the pin right in there. And I'm going to line this up just perfect in here. So now when I sew it, I'm going to go over to the machine and I'm going to sew it. But one of the things that I do when I go to the machine, first of all, I really want to have a single hole needle plate in. I want my needle plate, I want it at, I want my stitch length at 2.0. I want it small. Let me do this again and get it really straight here. And, okay. And I want a single needle plate. I want a very, very sharp needle. I either want a Microtex or I want a quilter's needle that is very sharp, because and the reason that I want to use a single needle plate is I do not want this fabric to go into my sewing machine. You know, if you have your multi-needle zigzag plate in there, it can go down in there. And what I'm going to do when I sew this, I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to back stitch to here. I don't want a big knot of thread here, and I don't want a knot of thread here, because this is really important, because this is where you're going to turn it. And I want the 2.0 stitch length. Now, you want to stop exactly there. You may have to play with your stitch lengths to get it exactly where you want it to stop, because that's where it comes to the front and makes that nice 45. And so when I get down here and I stop, I want to back stitch into the center of that stitch, and I want to end it here. I start it here, but go backwards, bring it down here and go backwards. Now I don't have any clump of thread here or here. So let's go to the machine. Let's see. You want me this way, right? I got to do this right, you guys. Okay, so and also what's really important is you want to use the right color thread when you're doing this, because it could show. I have it at a 2.0 stitch length. I have it on just a regular stitch. So I want to start right. What I want to do is I want to take my needle and I want to put it right on that, right on my line. Then put my foot down. Uh-oh. What did we do that we don't? What does it say? Use pressure foot lifter to lower the pressure foot. Okay. Okay, we're not. That should go down. Okay, we're not doing this.
The liver somewhere.
There we go. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to go backwards. So let's go reverse. No, it's not. There we go. Nope. Wow, it's not stowing for me so hot. Okay, let's go in here.
That always happens on camera.
Well, it always does when you're on camera. Okay, I want to stop. I want to go back. I want to cut it. And then what I want to do is, I have a machine that automatically lifts and I'm not used to this. Okay, so we want to take this down to 1/4 of an inch and cut this corner off. Now when I want to turn this, what I want to do is I want to fold this, I want to fold this to the side over here, and then I'm going to bring it up through here, and we're going to use our point turner right here. Look at how great that is, how perfect that is. So the reason that we stopped right here is this is where you're going to fold it back all the way around your quilt or your top, hold it right into that corner, and there's your perfect corner right there. And then Tony's going to show you how to do an angled corner. This is the easiest way to do small things. This little block at 4 inches, you could do that perfect and you have no seams. Perfect. Let me move.
I'm going to show you how I do it, and I do it down and dirty. I'm not changing my needle plate. I'm using my one I have on. I usually use the same needle. I don't always put a special one in. But what's nice about this mitering, and it's a mitering tool, it will not miter for you if you're trying to miter borders to add to a quilt. This is designed to act like a binding where you're either taking the front to the back or the back to the front. There's YouTube has really good videos. There's excellent instructions in with these. And what I'm going to show you is how easy it is to miter angles. A lot of us have the 60-degree triangles and we put it together. This is a border print, but now we have to miter the corners. And I'm going to show you how you can get perfect mitered corners every time. Now, I quilt it, I have it down, I've trimmed it, I've put it together with my backing, I've quilted it. When I cut around, I leave a lot of extra fabric because I'm going to trim that down. What the pattern tells you to do is, if whatever binding size you want, you double it. So if I have a 1/2 inch, I would cut a 1 inch around. Now, if I have heavy batting here, or if I've got Insulbright, or like on a pot holder, I've got more thickness. What I found and what I do is I have my 1 inch measurement, but I add about 1/8 of an inch, just a smidgen. And what that does is it allows the fabric to come up around over the batting so that I don't have the pulling either way. So depending, that little extra smidgen makes a difference. So what I do is I've cut all the way around. Now I'm going to press into that. Now I have my, like on the 45, I have my folds. This will do an octagon or a hexagon. The hexagon is a 120-degree angle. The octagon is 135. Those are the most common. So just like with the 45, you see I've got my lines here, and I put it right there, so that matches right up. The only difference between this and the 45, I'm not making a line straight across. This is giving me the angle I need to draw my line so I can get the perfect miter. Once I've got my line drawn, I make a little mark in where the fold is, because there again, just like the 45, I want to match those up. And I do not shorten my stitch. I normally just leave it at the 2.5. Reason being, this, for me, this is going to be tucked in and it's not going to have a lot of pull on it. I go through my 2 points. Now what I'm going to do is, like on the 45, I have my line drawn. I just stitch from the outside to the inside, and it's leaving that outside free. Now, that's such a small seam. I'm not going to start, back stitch. That's crazy. I just start off the end. Sometimes I use a leader, or I hold my thread so it doesn't pull it in, and I just stitch to that point, and I just back stitch off. It's secure. It's not going anywhere. Then just like on the 45, I have my stitching that's there. And what I've done is I have cut off that dog ear. I've left 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I trim into the corner a little bit to take out some of the bulk. Now comes the magic. I just push it through, and that pulls it to the front, and I have a perfect miter. One thing I use a lot is the OESD point turner. We've all used scissor tips, and we've all put holes in the end and ripped our fabric. Believe it or not, chopsticks can leave slivers. Ask me how I know. But this has a flat sides. It's not going to roll off your table. It's small enough that I can put this into pouches and small things to help push out seams and corners. It has a small ball and it has a larger ball, so depending on what I'm trying to turn. When I go to push this through, I can get a nice sharp point, and I am not going through the end of my fabric. I just do this all the way around to all the points, and then I like to use these clips. If I use a lot of pins, I look like I've been in a cat fight by the time I'm done. So I love these clips. I have them in all sizes. Now what you can do is just stitch down. I can use a straight stitch. I can use a decorative stitch. I could use the variegated thread. The same technique will work if you're wanting to take the front of it to put it to the back. So depends which way, but you're adding binding. The other thing that's nice about this, I don't have the bulk in the corner. And if you're putting on regular bindings, now the last thing I want to do is cut separate bindings for like a pot holder and try to put that on. Or if I have a placemat, if you have a lot of thickness here, you put it on the table, somebody puts their glass on, and boop, over it goes. This is nice and flat. You get a crisp edge, and I don't have the bulk. So these two mitering tools give you a lot of options for those of us who, especially on the odd angles, cringe when they think about having to bind something that's got that odd angle.
Okay, Andrea drew a prize winner. You're going to get this Fat Cat pattern called My Flaky Friends. And the winner is J. Nunn. Now, J. Nunn, if you are local, you want to email Andrea at andrea.qualitysewing.com and tell her which store you'd like to pick your pattern up. If you are not local, then you want to send her an email and tell her your name and or your address and your zip code and where you want it sent, and she'll mail it out to you. Okay? Congratulations, J Nun. Woo! Okay, Charlotte.
Okay, one of the things that Tony said about the binding that I thought was really important, you know, why she wanted to add that 1/8 of an inch when it's thicker. What happens if you don't? This does not, your binding does not come out even with your corner. You know, you need that little extra, like she said, and you want it to come out perfect, and that's why she adds the 1/8 of an inch in there. Now we're going to talk about this worry-free bias binding. I use the bias binding that I made. I use it on my apron. And we used it on our pouches, or our Gadget Girl things, and they have to be on a bias. And a lot of you don't want to make the bias that you do in a circle and that you have to do it. It's kind of confusing. This is really, really simple to do this. I'm going to take a fat quarter, and I'm going to show you how to fold this. You're going to bring that, you do not have to cut this down. You want to bring this down. Thank you, Sandy. You want to bring it down to here. Now, this is your bias edge right here. And now you want to bring it up this way. This is your bias edge. Now because this is folded here, you have to cut off, about 1/8 of an inch. So you're going to cut that off. And when you get that cut off, what I do is I turn this over. Now this is my cut edge. This is all my bias. So I'm going to go 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. And I have strips of bias. And these are my 2.5 inch strips. Now I can sew these together. And a lot of times when we have these that we're going to sew together, we don't, you're going, how do I sew that together and get it to where it comes out right? All you have to do is lay it down like this, lay the other one just like this. So it's all like that. And then you could take it and you fold it this way. And you have the dog ears that are 1/4 of an inch on each side. You sew that down right through there, and then you have your perfect 45, and you want to open those seams up, so that's where that little iron comes in, because you want that binding to be really, really flat. But that's something, or if you want to turn it, if that's the odd way, you could turn it this way. It works either way. Just leave the 1/4 of an inch on your dog ears, cut those off, run it across, and you have it all sewn together. It's easy. This is the folded edge. I had ladies come up to me during this time and they go, I don't know where I cut it. Does it tell me where to cut it off? And I said, yes, number 5 does. It says line up the fabric on the mat and cut off the folds. It's talking about this bias fold here, just a smidgen. And so I said, just go home and highlight that so you know where you're going to cut it. And you only want to cut it on the bias edge. You do not want to cut it here. But a half of a yard is going to give you 260 inches of binding. 3/4 of a yard are going to give you 380, and 1 yard will give you almost 495 inches of binding. So you can get a lot of it out, and I forget it's how many that a fat quarter does. Tony's going to have some fun things let me move this, Tony. You want this up the other way?
Yeah. How many people have ever heard of the Bobbinator? I love the Bobbinator. There's a class L and a class 15. If you're not sure what size you need, check with quality. They can let you know what your machine uses. The Bobbinator, I'm going to show you how it works, allows me to turn any bobbin into a spool of thread. This comes with 10 spools of pre-wound. It's 80 weight, which is perfect for either sewing or embroidering or using when you're trying to do small font on your machine or embroidering small font. We've brought in the thinner threads before. A lot of times we don't buy 100 weight because then you have a spool that you may not use a lot of. But you've got pre-wounds that are 80 weight in different colors that work absolutely well. So your A's look like A's, your E's look like E's. But watch how simple this is. This is a storage end. So I can put bobbins in it. I don't have to, but it'll hold 3. Now watch the magic with the working end. It only will hold one bobbin. And if you look real close, there is, and I gotta look real close, I'm blind. There's a little slit.
Right here.
There's a little slit right there.
Here, you want to do this?
Yeah, I've been using the light.
Oh, yeah.
No, Sandy kept moving around, is making me sick.
Thank you.
But you see, and it doesn't make any difference which way the bobbin goes in. I'm putting my bobbin in, I have my thread, and all I'm doing is bringing it down through that slit.
It's under, they can't really see.
I put my top on, and now I have
a spool of thread.
a spool of thread that I can use either this way or this way. I can use up all those little bits on the bobbins that I have that are sitting in my case. I can use it as a bobbin or use it as a top thread, but it will turn any bobbin. And the pre-wounds are great, but you can wind your own bobbin and put it in, but it is that easy to use, and it gives you the option of using any bobbin. The other thing we brought in is the superior thread holder. Now, some of you may already have it. You need to use it. When you pull it out, the top part comes up, and then this can sit by your sewing machine, which, say this is on the other side.
Not too close to your flywheel over
So
here.
that it catches, but it brings it up, and now I can turn just about any spool of thread and be able to use it. There is videos online so you can see how to use them. This also allows me to use regular, like Coats and Clark. But what if I have cones that I want to use? A lot of times I sew with my embroidery thread. It sits on just like that and pulls up. One thing you can do, trying to thread it, holding it and going like that, you lay it down, thread it. Now it makes it easy. What they also give you in the set, this little plastic piece. If I want to use a larger cone, it's going to have a larger hole. I like to buy the 5,000 spools. What I can do is I can take that little plastic piece, slide it down over that, and now when I put the cone on there, it helps to fill that void so I don't have the chatter. Now, next month they're going to be bringing some metallic thread in. This comes out. I have 3 options for holes here wherever I want to put it, but I can screw it in. And now, when I bring in, say I've got metallic thread that has to pull off from the side, you can't pull it off like a cone because it breaks it. I just slide that on. Voila. I can use that. Also, it has a large spool cap, a small spool cap, and it comes with this little plastic piece. Well, look what this little plastic piece does. I can stick that in there, and now I can put a bobbin on there. I can use a bobbin. Just thread it up through to my machine and away you go. So it just gives you more options for using some of the threads, especially some of the specialty ones.
There is one thing that I would like to say about that. This is the newer one. I have the older one. This does not come out. So if you have the older one, this one, yeah. So you might want to buy the new one because this now makes it more usable.
Yeah, and this one has 3 options for me where I can put it. So with metallic thread, if I need to let it relax a little bit, sometimes when you're using metallic thread and it comes off the spool, they'll tell you to hang it over the curtain rod and bring it down and blah, blah, blah until you get it to your machine so that it can relax. I just put this down here if I need it to relax. Now it would go from here to here to here to my machine, and it has time to relax. So a great little tool to have that allows you, and then it folds down and away you go.
Do we do this one? Okay.
Nope, go ahead.
Okay, this is the binding ease, and this is really this is a silicone pad. Okay, we got it. Okay, silicone pad, and where's our little iron? What do we do with it? Okay, we're going to use the iron for a moment. Thanks, Sandy. So this is my bias tape that I made. And so it has to be folded over. What this has is a silicone. It has these little holes.
Can you move the light out of the way?
Oh. There we go. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my my bias binding here, and it has, when it comes out of my machine, I have to fold it over. So I can fold it over here, put my iron, I'm going to turn this around. My iron's going to sit here, and I can just pull it right, just hold my iron down and pull this right through, and I have this really nice piece of binding that is all, bias binding, that is all ready to be sewn. Now those of you that fold your binding, your 2.5 inch binding, 3.5 inch binding in half, and you want to iron it in half, start it in the hole here, and
We called those belt loops.
well, that's probably what they are, you know, belt loops all the way across. Get it real nice and even. Stick it over on this side, and then you're going to put your iron right here. You'll hold it down, and you're just going to pull it, and it's all going to be ironed just like that. Isn't that the coolest thing? So when you get this done, your edges match up, and now you're ready to bind your quilt. This is silicone, so it's good to set your iron. One of the ladies said she didn't realize that she could just leave her iron on this and pull it through, but that's what it's made for. So it's a really cool tool to add to your sewing room.
It also gives a crisper edge. The reason being, when you're pressing on an ironing board or you're pressing on a wool mat, it's designed to have some give so you don't see your seam as much to the front. This is stiffer, and it's going to hold that iron, and it's going to reflect heat back because it does get hot, and you can get a super crisp edge.
And if you notice that we just pulled this through, how clear, it's almost a crisp edge right now, you know, without it just, but with that iron there, like she said, it just, you know.
You can do flanges. It's great for doing handbag handles.
Anything.
For putting in, and it keeps your fingers away from the iron, because I don't know if you can see, I use mine now. So
Okay, so
we're going to talk about the pouches.
okay. Now let's take this off.
We brought in the classic zipper pouches embroidery. And we need pouches if we're going on retreat, right? Don't we, to put stuff in. There's 2 sizes. There's a small and a large. And there's 4 designs. It's an in the hoop project.
Turn this over.
What I used on here, you see the teal variegated that we brought in? If you have a thinner or smaller satin stitch, you're not going to end up with as much blocking as you do as if you have a wide satin stitch. So it's one way to use it. But look at the purple thread here. It looks like I went nuts. I used one thread, one variegated thread, to get all of that definition. Charlotte made these 3. They turned out absolutely gorgeous.
But I did forget to do something.
What?
Well, if you ever have fabric left over that you've cut for a pattern, you might want to check and see why you did. I forgot to put the back liner in these 2. I did it twice. I didn't just do it once. And so the third one I did, I at least put the backing in there. It's supposed to match. It's, you know. But one of the things that I noticed on this particular stitch, Tony talked a lot about our bobbinator and 80 weight thread. 80 weight thread is really, really important in some of your embroideries. Some of our embroideries are really, really dense. They have some really, really tiny, tiny stitches in here. And if you will put your 80 weight or your 100 weight in your bobbin, you take some of that density out, and it doesn't change the design, but what it does is it makes it much nicer to sew with. So these all have 80 weight behind them, and so if you have something that you want to take some of the density out, use your 80 weight wonderful bobbins.
80 weight is great if you're doing tile scenes, because those are very dense and you have extra stabilizer. So the 80 weight is wonderful.
That's right.
We are running short on time, but we want to show you the last thing. The Quilt Builder card deck. This way.
Okay.
It has 40 blocks in 5 sizes on each card. And if you have bought set 1, set 2, or the Christmas set, none of the blocks repeat in any of the sets. So this is set 3. It gives you a diagram of the block. Then on the back it shows you A, B, C, D, E, the segments of your block, and how to cut them. So A is a triangle. You would cut 2 squares. Then you would cross cut them. And for each size block, 6, 9, 12, 15, or 36, it tells you the size to cut and how to cross cut or diagonally cut both ways or whichever. So we made some blocks. Tony used her Christmas pack and made this cute block, and she put Insulbrite in it so it can sit for hot pads in the middle of her table, and she could put a casserole on it.
And I mitered all the corners.
Mitered all her corners.
All the corners.
Yep, beautiful. Charlotte made this block from the deck, and this is her Among the Wildflowers fat quarter bundle.
It has Insulbrite in it, and also another layer of 80-20 in it, so it's kind of heavy for casserole.
Hot casserole, Yep. And then Charlotte made this one. I know this is the weather vane block, and it is in there. This is also from her
Fat quarter
bundle. The great thing about this card deck, besides the 40 blocks in 5 different sizes, you don't have to haul a book to retreat. You've got all these different cards. But also, it gives you ideas for how to set those blocks. Ways to lay them out to make quilts. It also gives you yardage for squares and rectangles so that you can figure out yardage if you're making a big quilt. Y-seam piecing, or as Tony calls it,
dot to dot. We do not Y-seam, we go dot to dot.
Yep. How to mix the blocks, to mix and match to get, a 2-block quilt. And then, I don't see it here. Her favorite one, it also tells you how to cut your triangles if you're going to set something on point.
On point challenge.
Yeah.
Yep. So it is a great card deck. You would stay busy at retreat with your bundle of fat quarters and this card deck, I guarantee it.
It is a great, that block, those quilt blocks are great to have because, if you want to make a sampler quilt, you have 12 blocks in a sampler quilt. So you could take 12 different blocks in there and make a quilt make a sampler.
Well,
it's great.
I like the deck well enough because it has a lot of purposes. I bought set 1 and 2 and the Christmas, as well as now I have the 3rd set. Right. And the 3 sets, none of the blocks overlap. But you get 5 sizes, and where are you going to get a pattern that shows you how to make a 36-inch block? I have an immediate table topper or a baby blanket. It is great. Put 4 of them together, and I have a quilt.
Yeah, easy.
Andrea, do we have another winner?
Why, yes we do. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to go to Quilt Retreat. How about you guys? Well, you
go retreat, chocolate and wine.
Super fun.
Oh, I can't say that?
Well, you just did.
You did. Oh, sorry.
Oh my goodness, these ladies have had such a fun time with all their products today. Just a reminder that all the things that they talked about are 20% off until October 9th. After that, we'll take it down. So hurry up and go on there. The code that you want to put in is 20 SEPT for 20% off in September. So anyways, go in there, use your code and get your 20% off. And we have another winner. Thank you so much to everyone that has tuned in and made this so great. You had lots of comments about how fun they've had this whole time. Okay, this is for the Aunties 2 daytime duffel right here. Very exciting. It's a cool duffel bag pattern. This is for H. Sawyer. So H. Sawyer, thank you for tuning in today. Please leave a comment. Text me at Andrea at Quality Sewing.
Email you.
Email you.
Not text. Email me. I'm talking way too fast. Email me at Andrea at qualitysewing.com. Let me know if you're local in the area and I can send it to one of our local stores. Or if you're out of the area, please shoot me your address and I will email or mail that to you. Not email it. I will mail it to you. I'm going to get this right.
And tomorrow, Pasco gets to experience Sandy and I live.
Everybody wave to Pasco. Hello. All
We'll
that are
see you
tuning in
tomorrow.
today. Thank you and have a great day. We will see you next month.